Hello and welcome to Fire in the Belly. Today we have myself, Mighty Pete, and we're joined by Austin O'Keefe. Good afternoon, Austin.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me today, Pete.
No, thanks for coming on. It's great, and great to have a radio voice coming on as well. So, tell us, Austin, who are you and what do you do?
Okay, my name is Austin O'Keefe. I have a few hats on. One of them is a musician. I play keyboards and write songs and used to perform, but hopefully next year I'll get back into performing in playing live music. And then I also help people get healthier through our supplements, healthy beverages, and skincare. We have a wide range of healthy products, and I also mentor people in starting their own home-based health business. So two areas in that I'm really happy doing. So they're the main areas I'm focused on at the moment.
Yeah, brilliant. You're saying so you said playing the keyboard and performing. What do you perform?
Well, keyboards. I mean, in a band, I perform, play keyboards in a band, do a bit of harmonies. I'm not really a great singer, so I stay in the background, and I like hiding behind the keyboards. Let someone else be the front person, and I just play the music behind them. Yeah.
So. Awesome. Love it. Thank you for that. So tell us, Austin, what does Fire in the Belly mean to you?
Fire in the Belly, to me, it's really motivation. I would say it's what gets you up in the morning, what drives you in whatever area, whether it's business or just any passion. But it's what drives you to do more than you could. That's a simple version. I haven't really thought it deeply, but motivation really.
Well, I like
self-motivation.
That. Yeah. Doing more than you could it's good. It sort of sounds like you're stretching yourself too.
Well, yeah, it's not motivation as in someone motivating you. It's self-motivation. That's what I would say. Yeah.
That's a good idea. That's good. I like that. So take us right back. Where are you from originally, and talk to us about your family.
Yeah, I'm from the north side of Dublin, a place called Artane, and I grew up there. I was there for 22 years. And then family moved to another part of the north side of Dublin, which is Malahide. Stayed there for 7 years, and then I got my own place and moved to another part of the north side of Dublin, and then now I'm in West Dublin, so still around Dublin. I spent just 6 months abroad. That was the big total of my traveling experience, I suppose, but mostly Dublin. Yeah.
Brilliant. So where did you go abroad, just out of interest?
Spain. When I was 23. I can go through that later, but I just saw this course. I was working at the time. I saw this course in AutoCAD, that's computer-aided design, and I saw location Spain, and I thought, okay, because I'm into languages, and also thought maybe a few nice senoritas over there, so. I said, yeah, why not learn something and have a good time? So I went over for 6 months, learned Spanish, and learned a bit about AutoCAD. But yeah, it was a great experience to be abroad. Everyone should do it.
Awesome. So what about, do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have one brother and had 3 sisters. One died about 10 years ago. So 2 sisters and a brother, yeah. 2 older. Brother and sister older, and then younger sister.
So you were the sort of
second last. So there's nothing.
Second last.
Some people say, if you're first or you're last, you're in between. There's different. Change the character. I don't know if there's any truth to that. I suppose if you're a sole child, if the only child, you're spoiled, I suppose. Or if you're the last one, you're spoiled because all the other older children are looking out for you. But I don't know. So second last, nothing special about that.
Were you guys close when you were growing up?
The brothers and sisters?
Yeah.
Not really. No, not. No, my older brother and sister, they were a few years, 6 years older, 7 years older, so they were doing their own thing. I wasn't that close to my closest sister in age, and then my youngest sister, I helped her through her school, to teaching her. I was there with her every day, helping her out through school or anything, just homework or teaching her really. So I was her little mentor when she was growing up. Yeah. So not Not close as some families, I would say, but
Brilliant.
average. Yeah, yeah.
So tell me, as a, I don't know, say a 7-year-old Austin, who would we have met?
Well, I think looking at photographs of me when I was 5, 6, I was definitely not shy because I was sticking my head out and making faces and doing all sorts. But I started to get shy probably 7, 8. I remember just two memories from school. One is being brought to school and crying, bawling my eyes. My father was bringing me to school because I just did not want to go to school. I was dragged along. And the other memory of primary school was I was making paper planes in class, and I was pretty good at them and throwing them around the place. And the teacher brought me up to the top and embarrassed me and shamed me for doing that. And I think after that I started to get quiet because I went out of, I did something out of line and a little punishment, nothing major. But after that, started to get a little quieter. But nothing I could think of special in my earlier years, seven onwards. But I do remember, I must have had an entrepreneurial spirit because when I was 9, I had this crazy idea that I would set up a stall outside my house in the garden, the front garden. And I went over to the shop, the newsagent, and bought sweets and brought them over and set up a stand and started selling the sweets across the road. Like we were across the road from the newsagent. I just thought this crazy idea. Let's have a stand and sell sweets from my garden. I don't know. I can't remember if I made a profit or what, but I was only about 8, I think, something like that, 8 or 9. And also around the same time, my neighbours were doing a bit of play acting, and we decided to set up a theatre in my back garden. So I invited people to come along to the theatre, and I thought it was a great idea to get an audience in. And I probably was thinking, I didn't know anything about business then, but just the idea of attracting an audience into the garden and performing, I thought it was a great idea. So just creative ideas were coming to me at the time. Nothing too serious. Just kids play acting and doing things, just using their imagination, I suppose.
That's great. Obviously, you were sort of a bit of a, you had the outgoing streak there, or the almost a performing side to you.
Well, I wasn't performing that much for the I was more interested in getting the people in. So I probably did some performing at the thing, but I just liked the idea of attracting people in to a performance. Yeah. But I wasn't involved in anything musical until I was about 10, when, like most people in primary school, we started the recorder. You know the recorder,
mm-hmm.
little like a wooden flute, I suppose, it's a small thing like that. So that was the first introduction to music for me. Now, my mother was a singer, not a professional singer, but anytime we'd go out for the evening, when there's music there, she would get up on stage and do her little bit. So she sang. My father played the accordion badly, so there was a little bit of music in the family, but I didn't get involved until the recorder, and I sort of was the best in the class, I was told at the time. And then another teacher got me into singing in primary, and that they seemed to think I was good enough. I was the top singer in the choir in school, so that got me interested in music at a fairly early age, 10, 11, 12. Yeah.
Oh well. So it's always, I mean, it's good to have that. But out of interest, what did your mother and father do?
My mother was a nurse. She started way back in 1954. She went to London to study and get work experience in the 50s, and then came back and worked in Brendan's. She was a general nurse, then she ended up as a psychiatric nurse in Brendan's Mental Hospital in Dublin's North City. And she did that for 30 years, I would say, 25 years maybe. My father had different jobs. He wasn't great at. He was a crane driver to start for on the docks, and he's from Cavan, which is in Ulster, and he moved down to Dublin when he was about 25, and he never drank anything up till then. But then when he became a crane driver in the docks, the dockers, like the pubs opened there at 7 a.m, and it's just was a drinking culture. I'm not sure, I wouldn't say it is now. He just got in with the drinking culture there, and he went from drinking nothing to getting a little bit hooked on the drink. So he worked there in the docks for a few years, and then he was moved to Houston Station, another train station, unloading stuff there, and didn't like it, and ended up being a truck driver for a company, just delivering around the country. That was it. And he was unemployed for a couple of years as well. The drink, he wasn't an alcoholic, but the drink didn't help. He'd go on weeks where he'd be drinking, and then he'd stop, and everything was fine for a few months, and on and off, yeah. But he'd had his own truck driving business for a couple of years, but mostly working for other people. And then he's dead 30 years. The last few years of his life, he was a caretaker of a school, primary school. So did that for about 5 or 6 years, and then he had a massive heart attack in 1988 and died. Yeah.
Well, but he sounds quite hands-on, very, very practical.
My father, yeah, he was like he was doing everything in the school. He was repairing the windows. When he could have got someone else to do that, he was doing all the odd jobs in the school. So yeah, he used to paint houses part-time in my local area. The neighbors, he would go and do their paint their houses for them. So he just do odd jobs here and there, whatever was going. But no, he was, he never achieved anything great in his life. And I suppose at the time I was thinking, I don't want to be average and be like him, where some years he wouldn't be working and he'd be stuck for money or earning low wages, and depending on my mother. My mother was the main income earner as a psychiatric nurse, and then she left that to bring up my brothers and sisters. She left that for a good few years, and we ended up. She took on ex-mental patients into our house. We were one of only four families that took on patients from mental hospitals to try and bring them back into the community. So at one stage we had 7 ex-mental patients in our home. So there's a lot of little stories going on there, little crazy things going on with the ex-patients. But they were okay. They were just a little bit weird. So we grew up with mental people in the house for about 10 years, and then she went back to nursing. She got rid of them after 10 years. Said I had enough of that, and went back to nursing for a few years in order for her to get her pension. She said she needed to do it for another few years, so now she has her nursing pension. So she's 90. Just last week she was 90, so still going strong. Yeah. My father died at 62. He was overweight, smoking, drinking, so all that didn't help.
Wow, that's quite a difference.
Yeah. So 28 years longer she's lived so far. Yeah. Oh, just the lifestyle. He definitely smoking the pipe. That's what he used to do since he was probably 20. And then a lot of heavy drinking over the years didn't help, and he was definitely overweight too. So all that, resulted probably in a massive heart attack. So my mother, I don't know. I hope I have her genes, because she's lived the longest of all her family, and my father's family. She's the oldest. Yeah.
It was interesting the comment you said there. It said you almost decided that you didn't want to be average.
Yes, I just saw my father. I mean, I just remember when I was in my early teens, and my father would borrow money from me. He'd ask me for money. I mean, I was only like 14 or 15 or something like that. And he'd say, have you got, a few quid to lend me? And that was embarrassing for him, and not nice for me that my father had to borrow money from me. So I just said to myself, I cannot be like that. I cannot be dependent. And I want to be, independent and free, and not be relying on anybody else for my money. Yeah. So that probably made an impact on me, that he was He was not, he wasn't the father of the house for years. He was unemployed, and as my mother was bringing in the money, I just said to myself, this is not the way to go. So that was my decision, was, to try and be above average. I didn't want, like, he died with nothing special in his life. He didn't achieve anything major in business or career. He was a good father in general, but he died young and with nothing, nothing great that he achieved. So I just thought I didn't want to. Definitely didn't want to die young, but I wanted to have something. I wanted to achieve something in my life. Yeah.
Well, so I mean, at what stage were you? Were there patients, or I don't know, do you call them patients? Were people coming in and living with you guys?
Well, they were ex-hospitals, so they weren't. I don't know. You could call them patients, yeah. You could, because they were not capable of living in the normal environment. So my mother, as a psychiatric nurse, was there she knew how to deal with them. But as I said, there was nothing major that they did, nothing too extraordinary. Small things like one of the guys used to walk outside the house up and down the road about 50 times, just up and down, up and down, up and down. And it was a bit embarrassing for neighbours to see that. But little things, but no, nothing major. They were out of hospital, so they were safe enough to live with people in their home. Yeah.
What age were you at the time, roughly?
That would have been about 1979. So about 12, 13 till about 17. Yeah. So through my teens. Yeah. My sister. Yeah. My mother went back to work. We still had some of these ex-patients in the house. So my eldest sister took responsibility for cooking for them and cleaning and doing the odd bits. So she took some responsibility. My father did a little bit. His contribution was probably take care of the house, the physical things, and washing the dishes. That was his contribution, or else he was working with something. So that it was mainly my sister who did the rest of the work, as we were too young to be. We'd bring in dinners. We had a separate dining room for the ex-patients, so we'd bring in the dinners to them and collect their plates and do little jobs like that. But it was my mother and my sister did most of the work.
How did it feel having all that going on in your house? I mean, did it bother you, or was it?
See, when you're used to it, it didn't bother me. And I used to play cards with one of the guys. He was really good at cards, and he taught me how to play poker and all these different games. I was only a kid then, so we used to play cards. And one of the other guys, he was okay enough that he brought me on a few trips when I was a kid. So yeah, no problems at all. They sort of kept to themselves, and we kept to ourselves. They had a separate living room. They had a TV in there. They watched it themselves. We had another place, so we didn't see too much of them. You say hello, and as I said, bring in the dishes and that sort of thing. So there wasn't too much interaction between the family and them, except my mother, obviously, but not the kids. We were kept separate, yeah. But I remember one of them, the last guy we had, he was probably 75 or something, and he used to get me to go to the pharmacy to get Panadol because he was in terrible pain, and he wasn't supposed to get these extra drugs, but he'd give me, slip me an extra quid. He said, "Listen, will you go over and get me some Panadol?" So once a week I'd go over and get him these extra painkillers because obviously he wasn't in a good shape. But yeah, lots of different stories. I won't go into all the details of the stories, but that guy, one quick story, he earned a lot of money. He had a farm in Mayo, the west of Ireland, earned a lot of money from it, and he in the black market. Now, it's a long time ago, so there's no problem saying this. And in order to not have to pay any tax on it, he put on an act on the train. He pretended that his money was robbed. He had it in a case, and he kicked the case in and broke it, and then told everyone, "Oh my God, my money is robbed from my case, thousands and thousands." So he told the Gardaí and revenue so that he wouldn't have to pay tax. He said, "Oh yeah, all my money's gone now. I can't pay any tax on it." That was a crazy story. Yeah. Another guy was He's very old. He was in World War One. He was a soldier in World War One. This is going way back now in the 70s. He was around 75 at the time. Yeah, that was our first ex-patient. He was involved in World War One, soldier. So yeah, lots of stories from that. Interesting childhood, being brought up with those ex-patients.
Did you feel comfortable around them? Like I said, did you interact with them much, or?
No, that's it. It just as I play cards with one of them, and not really. No, the others they just did their own thing. They'd maybe come down for coffee in the evening time, have a quick chat with them. One of them was an actor on one of the soaps in the 70s in Ireland, and he just had a mental breakdown, went to hospital for years, and came out and stayed with us. So yeah, just little chats with them all. But as I was a kid, and they were 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, so there wouldn't be too much in common. So I wouldn't be talking to them much. I hope it didn't affect me too much. Let's see.
That's interesting. Obviously, there's quite a strong empathy there. Your mother, to do that and to bring people in, like that, to bring them into their home.
Yeah, it's. I thought it was a common thing, but I only found it out last year. There's a comedian in Ireland who made a play, an actual comedy play, because he was one of the other three homes. His mother brought in patients, and there's actually was touring up till the lockdown. He was touring Ireland with the play about these mental patients in his home. So he's a comedian here that was brought up like myself. The same way. So there's only 4 families like it. So we at the time we didn't know we were a little unusual, but we know now. So yeah, it was as I said, just we got used to it. So it didn't mean anything to us. Maybe our neighbours weren't too happy.
Interesting there. How did you find school then in the end? Because you talked about not wanting to go to school, and your sort of dad forcing you.
Well, that was probably. Might have been the first year in school or second year, just first day going in. Well, my mother wasn't there, so maybe I was crying because my father was bringing me to school instead of my mother. It could have been partly that, but I definitely remember crying across. It was only around the corner from me. It was so close, like 5-minute walk. It was great in a way. But yeah, no, I didn't mind school at all. No, I've had no really bad experience. Get into a few fights. When I was 12 or 13, but nothing major. When I was 10, 11, I was just average height, and you get a bit of bullied a bit. But then I shot up. I got taller than the rest of them, so nobody interfered. Nobody bullied me then. It's funny the height makes a difference. So people kept away from me. So there wasn't many fights in secondary school, but. Nothing extraordinary school-wise that I can think of in primary. Yeah, nothing.
You into your sports at all? Or?
No, I was going to say that I did no sports. I know that's crazy. In secondary school, I was third last to be picked for the football team. You'd stand in the line, and two guys who are good at football would pick 2 teams, and I would be second or third last, depending. There was a big fat guy that was last, and I was second, because they just knew I just didn't play any sports. They went swimming once a week, and I didn't even do that. Mainly because when I was 10 or 11, I remember jumping into a river, and I had a ring around me to keep me buoyant, one of these rubber rings, and the ring fell down to my feet. So when I dived off a barrel, the ring was at my feet, and I went head into the river, and the ring kept my feet up in the air, but I was down in the water, so I couldn't breathe. I was swallowing water, and if there was nobody else there, I could have drowned. But my closest sister, was there, and a friend of hers, and they came in and got me out. I don't know why. Obviously, in hindsight, I should have kicked off the rubber ring from my feet. But you don't think about that when you're panicking. So I was taking a lot of water, and I was there. It felt like a minute, but it probably was about 20, 30 seconds. And if I was on my own, I mightn't be here today. So that's sort of, I was a bit frightened by water. and I just didn't want to go swimming then after that. So yes, the swimming, they all went except 2 or 3 people stayed back from swimming. We just sat in class and read or something. Football, I was no interest in football. We didn't have rugby. I love rugby now, but we didn't have rugby then. No other sports. Although our school was good at the Gaelic football, there was a big emphasis on that, but I had no interest whatsoever in that. So, yeah, near the end, I started to get fit and played a little bit, but apart from that, nothing sport-wise. Otherwise, in school, in secondary school, there was nothing. I wasn't the worst in the class, and I wasn't the best in the class. I was pretty average and quiet. I kept in the background and hated speaking in the class. I just didn't like that. So I kept right in the background. But I was average, not the worst, not the best.
I was going to say, what were your school reports saying at the time? Do you remember?
In secondary, I was actually one of the best. There's a thing called Intercert. There was a thing called Intercert. When you're 15, you do. It's like O levels for you. It's the one before the main one. So I did 11 subjects, and I got honors in 9 of them. So I got really good results in the intermediate certificate. I didn't know that, until after that I did so well. And one of the teachers was using me as an example to other students. Look at this guy, he's got 11 subjects. The average subjects are 9 or 10, but I did carpentry after school as an extra subject. I don't know why, but I did that. So I did well. I got A in science and history and geography. So I suppose I was better than average in school up till I was 15, 16. And then, I like the science and everything. I got rid of history. I got an A in history, but I just thought it's not a practical subject unless you want to teach history. So I dropped history and dropped geography, and I just stuck with physics and technical drawing. Because at the time I was reading a book about your left brain and right brain, and that you should keep a balance. Like in school, it's all about your right brain. It's all about, your left brain. It's all about your, language, technical stuff, mathematics. It's all nothing creative, whereas your right brain is all the creativity. And this book was saying you should try and balance the two. So I said, okay. So I did art and technical drawing to keep my right brain active, and then did science. And you have to do Irish, English, and maths anyway. So I dropped music as well because, again, like history, I thought, well, it's not much good, and it's something you can do outside school. So I left. I did music. I just thought it'd be something extra I could do. No need to do it in school, so I left that. Yeah. So I was trying to be practical in what I was doing.
It's quite a mature way to look at it, of the things that were good and useful to you and things that weren't.
Yeah, that's. I could have done music, and I'm still doing music, so I could have done very well. But I didn't want to go into the theory of music, even though I knew it. I knew a bit. I just thought it sounds a bit boring, and learning all these complicated manuscripts, the music. So I just thought, no, I'll do that part time and stick with more practical subjects. So I was into design and a little bit into art. So I thought technical drawing, art, science, the physics. I thought those things, and language. I was always interested in language. When I was a kid, actually, I started writing my own language. I was trying to mix the best of English, Irish, and French because they're the 3 I knew. I was about 14, something like that. I just said, well, what if I take the best from each language and put it together? Because there's crazy things in some languages there's no need to be there. And I just thought, right, let's get rid of all the bad things and just make my own language. So I was doing that when I was about 14. I don't know why. Yeah. So, and
It's
then I got it more into music then as well.
it's amazing the things you do, like especially at 14. You're obviously quite creative, and you obviously had a good handle on it. That you could see, match together different languages.
Yeah, definitely creative streak. I mean, the other thing I did was I wrote my own comic. I was doing my own storyboard comics as well when I was about 12, 13. So just the creative thing, you don't think about being creative, you just do it. And yeah, I just like to try and improve things. So the language thing, yeah, I just like Irish language is crazy. Obviously, you don't know it, but if you say the shop, it shop is one word. But if you say I go to the shop, because you say to the, you change shop. Yeah, just crazy things like that. And whatever you put before the word can change the noun. So I thought, well, you don't need that. So that's why I thought, well, I'll try and make up a language that takes the best of all things. So yeah, and I've always been interested in the history of words too, history of English words. Why do we say chair? Why is it called chair? Why is a bed called bed? Where did these names come from? They have to come from somewhere. So it's interesting to find out the origins of words. So yeah, I have a few books on etymology. It's called. It's
There
an
you go.
interesting subject, yeah, because from the origins of word you can actually find what the real meaning of a word is as well. It can be good for personal development too. So I that's one of my part-time interests. Yeah.
You see, I mean, had you quite a good imagination then?
Yes, because then I started writing songs when I was 14, 15 maybe. Started composing. I bought a keyboard. Sorry, before that I was doing accordion. My father sent me to accordion lessons when I was 11. It's not something I asked for. And I was actually, I was the best in the class at that. Did that for 7 years. But when I was in my teens, then I started watching Top of the Pops, and I said to myself, I want to be that guy in the keyboard. I like the sounds of the synthesizers, and the accordion is I didn't like the sound of it, and we were playing classical music, and I wanted to play pop music. So I bought my own keyboard when I was 14 and started messing around with that and write my own stuff. So definitely creative would be a good description, I'd say. Yeah, just getting lost in my own imagination.
Did you have any sort of part-time jobs or anything at that age?
Uh, I had my first job when I was 13, and I lasted about 2 hours. It was door to door. What was it called? It was some sort of I can't remember the name of it now, like a raffle, a weekly raffle thing. It was famous at the time, and so you just go to door, and there are regular people that would buy these tickets, and you make a few quid out of it. But when I started, there was a few dogs sort of attacking me, and people not answering the door. And just after a couple of hours, I said, no, not for me. So then my sister, she was working in a women's clothes shop in the stockroom, and they were looking for someone on a Saturday. So I was 13. I started working on a Saturday in this place called Fancy Pants. So we're upstairs. It was in Grafton Street, and upstairs just pricing women's clothes. That was my main job, and shifting clothes around, taking clothes in, and sorting things out. So that was interesting. It was a Jewish family that ran it, and did that for a couple of years. So that was eight. I remember getting £8 my first day. £8, 1980. And it was great because at Grafton Street in the 80s, early 80s, it was great. You could look out the window and see all the buskers and the buzz of Grafton Street. You're right in the middle of it at 13 years of age. It was great to see life in Dublin City the way it is. So it was definitely an interesting experience for a couple of years. Did that and worked in the summer then as well with them. So that was the first part-time job anyway. that kept me going.
Fair play. I mean, well, was it much of a commute then? I mean, or was that sort of straightforward enough for you?
I got a lift in my, or was it bus? Let me see, 13. I think I got the bus in, I think. No, it was only, we were only about 10 kilometers, 6 mile from the city. So no, it's no big commute at all. It was handy, especially when you're there with your sister. It's not too bad, you know. It's not like daunting. You're coming to a new place, you don't know anybody, so it was fine. She was full time at that. It was great. Yeah, it was a great experience. Just seeing how a business worked. So yeah, and they, you know, near the latter years there, they were bringing in computerized systems. It was all new then, you know. So it's just the start of the computerized pricing. You know, it was interesting. Yeah, but didn't do any other job until I left school. Yeah, that was the only thing I did work wise.
It's, you know, you talked about quite early on about the events when you're sevenish. You know, you're saying you're not shy up to 5 and 6, and then you've gone through the almost this shy period. But that seems like it's come out later on again.
Well, no, it's still quiet till only a few years ago, I'd say. Well, one thing that I remember from childhood was my father, when he was in a bad mood. He, not regularly now, but I remember one big beating. He beat me because I was supposed to be learning the accordion in the house, and I was doing something else instead of playing the accordion in the room, in another room. He came into the room and saw I wasn't playing the accordion, and he started beating me up. I think that probably had an effect on me, you know, knocking the good out of me and keeping me quiet after that. I think that might have had an effect on me. That was around 12. Yeah, about 12. So, yeah, after that I was fairly quiet. I didn't want to be out there or do anything. Just kept in the background. Didn't stir any trouble after that. Yeah, so that, yeah, and yeah, right through till only a few years ago, I would always keep in the background. If there was a meeting or something, I would be the last to speak. I would hate to speak in public. When my father died, 62, I was 23, and I was asked to speak at the dinner after the funeral. I spoke for about 10 seconds because I just didn't know what to say. I was a bit, you know, daunted by the task of speaking to 150 people. So I just thanked everyone for coming and hoped we'd have a better day, a better occasion the next time to meet. And that was it. Sat down. So yeah, I hated public speaking, and I think it was partly when I was in school. I remember standing and I was asked to read a passage from a book, and at the time my voice was breaking, so I was going from the boy to the deep voice, and I was sort of up and down. So everyone was laughing in the class when I was doing that, and I think that knocked my confidence for public speaking. That was what, about 11, 12. That's it, right? That's it. I don't want to be out in public again. So when my father died doing the speaking, I absolutely hated. Well, thankfully they only asked me a few seconds before, so I didn't know. My heart would have been pumping like mad. So yeah, I stayed away from being in the front of attention for a long, long time.
Well,
until about 10 years ago. Yeah.
mm. No, it's amazing how, you know, and you can see you remember these quite vividly, and you can see your mind going back into that time.
Yeah. It's obviously any emotional memories stick with you, as you know. It's it's anything that's not, if there's no emotion in it, it's very hard to remember things. So you remember all the things that affect you deeply. So yeah, that sticks in my mind. And that public speaking with my dad, you know, years later, I said to myself, right, I can't have that again. I'm going to make a better effort. And when my sister died, that was 2008. I was doing the eulogy for her in the church, so I had to get up and just talk about her life. And at that time, I said to myself, right, I made a mess of my father's speech, so this time I'm going to do my best for my sister. And I said on the Zoom speech a few weeks ago that I took the focus out of me, and I put it to having a good speech for my sister, to do the best for her. So I took the pressure off me, I felt, and just said, right, I'm going to go up there and do a good speech for her in honor of her. So I vision doing the speech a few minutes before. I had in my mind, right, this is going to be a great speech. It's going to be clear. It's going to be good to show what her story was and do a good job for her. And yeah, I visioned it, and I got up there and did a clear speech, and everyone was praising me for the speech. So, you know, I turned from my father's speech to my sister's speech, big difference. And from then I had the confidence then to do other speeches, and I lost all that inhibition.
It's amazing, isn't it? Really, you know, the sort of different events. But tell me this: did you have any idea as a teenager what you wanted to be when you sort of grew up as such?
No idea. Apart from music, when I was in my teens, I wanted to be on Top of the Pops. I just thought, look, that's so easy. You know, you write a 3-minute song, and you get adored by everybody. It's great. So that was one ambition, was to either to be on performing a song, or to write the song and be played around the world. That was always my ambition. But otherwise, I think I was always interested in the business end of things. And when I was in school deciding what I was to do for college, I put architecture number one, because architecture involves the technical ability, but it also involves creativity. So I thought that would suit me, because I was pretty good at the stats and the maths and all that, but I was also creative. So I thought this is ideal for me. But then I thought maybe I won't get the points for it. So in the last minute, I switched it to applied science to be number one. Applied science was physics, chemistry, mathematics, and I thought it said applied science, so I thought it would be applied to business, because in my mind I was thinking maybe I'll be able to design products and be an entrepreneur, having my own products, and from the applied science I'll be able to know the technical end of things and the design as well. So again, it was to do with design and technical, bringing the whole thing together. So I got into college to do applied science, and I liked the physics end, and some of the maths. I liked the statistics end, but I liked most. We had 2 hours a week of economics, and we had 1 hour a week of German. I picked German. They had French or German. I picked German because I did French in school. I thought, okay, I'll learn another language. Why not? So I picked German, and I liked the German. I liked the economics more than the science. It just, I don't know. It could be the teacher as well, but it was just so, the economics is so interesting to me. I just love statistics. I love whatever, you know, the economic statistics of countries and business. Just for some reason fascinated me. And I like the fact to be able to learn another language and be able to talk to someone in another country in their language, communicate with them. You know, I think it's a great thing to have, a great addition. So the science, I did well in first year, but second year, the maths got very boring. It got very technical. It got very, very theoretical. It wasn't applied. It wasn't what I thought it would be. So did physics. And I still was interested in economics and the German. So I said to myself after second year, this is not really for me. I could do another 2 years, and I know I will not stick with this. So why waste another 2 years doing this? So I I left it after the second year and did a crazy thing and set up a band. But wasn't too crazy because during the day I did a start your own business course as well. I thought from the college, I thought, well, I like the business and economics and things. So I in the summer, after the second year, I started start your own business course. And in the evening time, I set up my own band. Like I'd never joined a band. It was the first time I was thinking of bands. I just put an ad in a paper and I said, musicians wanted to set up bands. So I set up a band, and from that, got into other bands, and it just got bigger and bigger from that. But in the back of my mind, I like the idea of being my own boss and starting my own business. So that was when I was 19. Yeah, 19. I did the business course.
So what was the band called?
Oh, it didn't last because I put the ad in. I got a drummer. I got 2 guitarists. I didn't get a singer. I got a bass player. So there was nobody to sing, and we were looking out for a singer. And then one of the guys in the band said, "There's another band looking for a keyboard player." So I joined this other band, and we were called Touchdown. We were sort of American rock, sort of a sound, and we just did a few gigs around Dublin. And then the singer and the drummer got a mini record contract with somebody and left the band, and I was pretty hurt at that. They left all of us, we were just left in the lurch. So I joined another band then. And then, this is something interesting. I joined the first ever government-sponsored band in 1987. The government paid us a weekly wage to play music. Now, I don't think that ever happened in the UK. And we were the first and last that we were given a weekly wage. I think it was £47 a week in 1987 to practice. We were in like 10 in the morning till 4:30, just practicing. The whole idea was that we'd have a set that we could perform to community groups and social groups, just to perform in the community. That was the idea. But we just did pub gigs and did our own thing, and it was great. It was a great experience. There's not many bands that would play every day, practice every day, 5 days a week for 12 months. It was, yeah. So that was another crazy thing I did, yeah. From that, then I joined another band, and I could give you the whole story of different bands. Toured Europe with one band, played in Switzerland, the Swiss Alps, for a few months there. Played in loads of tribute bands. Long history of music. That's one side of me. That's ongoing.
That's brilliant. So, I mean, obviously, it was always the same style, or was it different styles through the bands?
Different styles. I mean, even the last few years now, I played in 5 bands in December. One band was a ballad band, so it's Irish traditional sort of ballad songs. Another band was just me and another guy who I was with in 1997. We still play a little bit as a 2-piece with backing tracks. A third band was a dance band playing the 70s disco sort of funky stuff. I was just called in to do a few gigs with them. Another band was Bruce Springsteen tribute band. We played 2 gigs in December, and we were still going into the lockdown with that. We'll probably pick that up next year whenever that happens again. And then the last one, a country rock singer, I played keyboards with her in some gigs as well. So I had five bands in December, and now nothing, all down to 0. But so different styles, But I also played in Elvis tribute band. I played in an ABBA tribute band. I played in Madonna tribute band. Michael Jackson tribute band, and now Bruce Springsteen. So whatever's going, I'll give it a go. But I always like to do my own songs, though. That's my goal, is to make that the main thing. So at home I just write songs and put them out there and see what happens.
What's one of those really stands out for you of all those bands? Is there any in particular?
Um, well, I enjoyed my time with an Irish. We're doing Irish sort of folk rock band. In 1995, we did a tour of Europe. So we played in Germany, Denmark, and Sweden. Did a tour, mainly Sweden. We did 30 days in Sweden, and we had 1 day off. 30 gigs, almost non-stop. Actually, on our day off, we played as well in the afternoon. And so 30 days non-stop gigs. That was a great experience. Traveling, going over there. Actually, we hadn't got much money, so I bought a second-hand Ford Transit van, rust bucket. You know, it didn't look great, but it's all we could afford. And when we actually got free on the ferry from Ireland to France, because I told them we'd play music on the ferry and that would cover our cost of the ferry going over. So they agreed to that. But the ferry, the sea journey was so bad. The ship was going up and down and drinks flying everywhere that we just couldn't play. So we didn't even play, but we got a free trip. And then we arrived in France the next morning, drove through France during the night, actually, drove through France, and then got into Germany, and the van broke down on the Autobahn on the motorway. And we had to get a tow truck. Cost us £600 at the time, but luckily I was covered because I used to work. I didn't go through this. I worked in the AA, which is membership breakdown service. So I was in that just before I went to do the European tour. So I got cover for the van. So luckily we got a new van which took us around Sweden because I was covered under the breakdown service. So luckily we were saved. If we didn't have that, we had no money. We only starting the tour, so we had no money. And the first day we broke down. So it was brilliant. The first night we played in a place called Bielefeld. And it was in a basement, and it was actually a Nazi cellar. It used to be the Gestapo's headquarters of this town. So there was like swastikas on the ceiling. It was just crazy. And it was a bar, but it used to be a Gestapo Nazi headquarters. So there was about 800 to 1,000 people there watching us play. And it was brilliant, you know, went down really well. All Germans just fascinated by this Irish music, just staring at us. We had a great party that night. But then the next day, it was like, oh dear, the van's broken down. Like that was the height was the gig, but the next day we had to back to reality. How are we gonna get a van? And so it took us a week to we were trying to repair the van, didn't work out. So we got a new van. So it took us a week to go back on our journey to Denmark and Sweden. But it was great meeting loads of people around Sweden. It was a fantastic experience. Just seeing different cities and the culture. Mostly Irish bars though, so lots of Irish there. But fascinating trip around there. We also had a tour of Italy, but that was cancelled, and so we were glad because we had no voice. We were singing 30 nights in a row. So at the end of the 30 nights, we just couldn't. We had no voice left, and we just heard that the Italian tour was cancelled. So we were relieved. So we came home then. And I sued the promoter because I left my job for this tour, but I had some business to go afterwards. I had a plan B after the tour, but still I left my job and the tour was half cancelled, the Italian part. So I sued the promoter and we got something from that. So after that, then I set my own business up.
I mean, it's obviously good fun. I mean, well, is it good fun when you're traveling around? You know, you're playing. I'm assuming at night time and things like that. Is it glamorous or is it just hard work?
Oh, there's no hard work. It was great fun. It was traveling to new cities. Yeah, the only issue was trying to find the place. You know, so like at that time, there's no sat nav. You know, we didn't have maps of different cities, so it was like turn left, second left, turn right here at this and that. And we were trying to remember this and you know, the phones, that was 95. So mobile phones weren't really a thing. So just find a place. But no, I mean the cities were so clean, and it was a bit cold, obviously, because it was January, January to February. But the experience, like, we were getting free drink, free meals, free breakfast, free dinner, drinking what we want at night time. A few women around, and just seeing different places. It was a great experience, just traveling, seeing. We were free during the day, so we just traveled, looking around the different cities, and there was nothing bad, absolutely nothing bad whatsoever about it. We met we came from Sweden back to Germany on a ferry, and there was another Irish band on the ferry at the same night. So we had a great night playing music on the ferry, and we had a huge crowd. The whole ferry was watching us play and entertaining them for a few hours, having drinks all night, and just great fun, great laugh. Unfortunately, then when we got off the ferry, I was well over the limit, and I was stopped going out of the ferry, but luckily I wasn't breathalyzed. He let me through, but definitely over the limit that time coming off the ferry. But great memories, just touring and playing. Absolutely loved it. No regrets whatsoever.
That's amazing. So you had your year in university, then you just took a turn and came out, and you went.
Yeah, I did crazy things. 2 years in university. Second year, I said this. I just knew it's not going to be my future career, so there's no point in doing it. I could have done another 2 years, and maybe passed it, and I knew I still wouldn't. It wouldn't be the career I was going to end up doing. So it sounds ridiculous to leave after 2 years, but I thought it was strategic to look more into the business end of things and the music end of things. I knew I'd have a career in music as well. So I as I said, I had a plan B to do business as well. So that kept me going. When it was actually the economics and the languages. I just knew what I was doing was not for me. So I took a different turn at that time. Yeah, and I was still young then anyway. So you do some crazy things when you're in your teens.
Just a few. So your main language is English, Irish, French, and then German later on.
And then Spanish.
Spanish.
I'm best at Spanish now. Yeah, even though I studied Irish from primary schools for 10 years. Studied Irish. I studied French for 5 years in secondary school. I studied German for 2 years, just 2 hours a week in college, and then Spanish. I went to Spain for 6 months, but I was with Irish people, so we didn't really learn enough. I stayed with Spanish families, so I learned a little bit with that, and watched the news and read newspapers and learned my Spanish through that. But now my Spanish would be my main, after English, of course, would be my the language I'd be more proficient in, I suppose. And I'm still doing it now today. I'm watching YouTube, just keeping up my Spanish with a few people teaching advanced Spanish. So I watch that every day. So my goal is to go to South America or Spain and do a presentation in Spanish of our health and wellness business. That's my one of my visions for the next year or two. To speak Spanish totally for at least 15 minutes anyway. I think I can do it. Yeah, I will be able to do it. So yeah, I want to tour South America as well. That's one of my goals, is to travel around and see Colombia and Peru and Bolivia, Argentina, that sort of area. Just do a little tour of the area. Yeah, because I like the culture. I fell in love of the Spanish culture when I was in Valencia in 1989, and fell in love with the women as well. But I just like the fiesta atmosphere there. They love their parties, they love their weekends. At the time in 1989 when I was there, young people would go out on a Friday evening and they'd come home on a Sunday morning. And then they'd sleep all day Sunday. And then Monday they'd either go to college or work. And that was a common thing. That was a habit, you know. Friday, nonstop. They'd have a disco, a nightclub, and then Saturday morning they'd have a morning thing at the beach. There might be a disco at the beach, and then they'd have lunch somewhere, and then they go somewhere else, and then they start all over again on Saturday night. Crazy, and then sleep all day Sunday. No, I didn't do that, but a lot of them, that's their lifestyle. In Valencia is the party city, or was anyway, of Spain. So I like their party lifestyle. Now they wouldn't have great bars like Irish bars, of course. They're more cafes. But yeah, I was over there with a guy. His name is Paul Green, and we used to call him Pablo Verde because that's what his similar name is in Spanish. And when we were over there, he was 18. He was 18. He said, "I want to be a DJ. That's my goal." And now he is the main DJ on Spin 103 here in Dublin. He's the main guy on that radio station, Dublin radio station. So his dream came true. He did a bit of DJ when he was over there in 1989. But yeah, he told me at that time that I want to be a DJ. And yeah, he got his dream. So
it's curious though. You were saying, you have the creative side of you, but then you have the science side of you. You talk about the economics, you talk about the German, and the on that side. So it's almost slightly different. So there's artistic and creative, and there's the languages thrown in.
It is crazy. It's the two ends of the spectrum because I love statistics. I could talk all day about economic statistics, even the bloody coronavirus. I could tell you what country, what percentage they went up, or how many deaths they went up every day. It was just crazy. I just like stats and business stats as well, and economics and marketing. But yeah, I mean, the GDP of different countries. I used to know them all. When I was doing geography in school, I wasn't mad about the Platonic plates and the land geography, but I was more interested in the economics part of it. The what countries, what they produce, the goods they produce, the exports and all that. That's sort of that end of things. So yeah, I'm just interested in figures and stats. When I was doing maths in college, it was the statistics that I was more interested in. Probabilities and predicting things for the future using mathematical models. So yeah, that's one end of the left brain, and then the right brain is the creative end of things. Yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, that's what I want to do. Architecture would bring the two together. There's definitely a lot of creativity there, but there's also the engineering and the mathematical end of things. So yeah, that's what I want to do at the time, but my points were not good enough for that, so I ended up with science. Yeah,
bit of a trapped creative genius within you.
I don't have a genius, but just that's the interest that I have. Yeah, we'll see what happens in the future, but they're the areas that I like. Lots of other areas I like as well, if you want to go into them. I have an interest in magic. I've always been interested in how things are done. That's why I probably get into science, because I like to know how things work, what's behind it all. How the world was formed, the astronomy and the things. How are things? What's the truth behind things? That's a big thing with me. So I if anyone does a magic trick, I always try and find out how it's done, and I could tell you most times I could get it right. Whatever trick they perform. If I don't know, I find out. I do my own research. So I'm always into truth and the real truth behind things. And when the last recession happened, I got into the truth of religion. So that's my other little hobby, and I've been studying that part time for the last 10 years. So I'm big into that. It's a huge area for me. The historicity of the Abrahamic religions, so Christianity and Islam. I could go for hours about that. So I just like the truth. I like I like honesty and respectfulness and truth always since I was a kid. I hate people lying to me and deceiving me or deceiving other people. I mean, in another life, I probably would have been a detective or a police to try and find the criminals. I just hate people being deceived and robbed and abused. Human rights, or animal rights. I just hate people being, abused or downtrodden. So for me, on the religion end, I found out that it was false, and my goal now is to expose that end of things and show why it's false and show why it's wrong. So I could talk for hours that end, but we won't. It's too much to go into, I think. But that's my little hobby.
Can you summarize very quickly the truth behind religion?
Well, there is no truth. It's man-made. I've done the research. It's not like a conspiracy theory. I've done a lot of research on it. I started up through magic, going on YouTube, watching how the magic's done, and then there was other people talking about the real truth behind religion and the fact that there is no history from the first century about Jesus Christ. There's no actually historical records about Jesus. So that was a shock to me. Everyone, first thing you think of, oh yeah, of course he was real, but I'm not saying he wasn't real, but I'm just saying there's no history there. The only thing mentioned was a guy called Josephus in AD 94. He wrote a book about the history of the Jewish people, and in that there's a small paragraph about Jesus. Like the whole book is about the Jewish race and all the things that happened to them. There's about 4 or 5 lines about Jesus, and it turns out that was a forgery. It's actually accepted now that was a forgery. So you take that out, there's nothing in the first century about Jesus. Now, I was shocked. I said, no, and I investigated more and more and more to find out if there's any information, and there's nothing. In the second century, you hear people talking about Jesus and the resurrection and all that, but that's like 80 years after the so-called events. So I look more into it and more into the Bible and the stories and the problems with the Bible, and that there's a lot of contradictions, a lot of errors, like Genesis 1, the first page of the Bible, about the earth was formed and then the world was formed and then the sun was formed, the light came, and it's not what happened. It's all backwards, and obviously evolution then contradicts or disproves Adam and Eve's story. So there's a lot of that, and that developed then into looking into Islam, because when I knew that that Christianity wasn't real, Islam believes in Christ. So I said, right, well, obviously that's something wrong there. And there's a lot of terrorism, Islamic terrorism, going at the time. This is 10 years ago. I just got into this after the last recession, when I had no job and no business and no work. I just had loads of free time. So I studied this, and with all the Islamic terrorism going on, I said, why are they doing this? Why are they hating the West? I wanted to know the reason behind that. So I just investigated what they believe, what's in their Quran, what's their motivation, their fire in the belly for killing themselels. Why would 9/11 happen? Why would 19 people go out and kill themselves and kill other people that they don't know, that did no harm? They're all innocent people that died, 3,000 people. What was their fire in the belly for doing that? I wanted to know. So I studied the Quran, I studied their religion, and I found a lot of things, a lot of problems with that religion. And now, only in the last few months, with another few guys, we're looking at the real history of Islam, how it actually started. And it's a fascinating subject. I won't go into it now, but there's again, something like Jesus, Muhammad. There's no real Muhammad. The Muhammad of the Quran is not really there in history. He either was a legend or a myth, one or the other. We're not saying for definite, but there's very little information about him from any source. From the time he was alive, supposed to be alive, there's no records again from anywhere about him. So all the stories happened 200 years later. All the stories, his biography was written 200 years after he was supposed to have lived, but nothing in between. So for 200 years, you hear nothing about him, and then suddenly there's loads of information about him. So it's fascinating that, 1.6 billion people are following a guy that has no historical, apart from the stories written in Islam, has no historical background. So again, it's me searching for the truth. It doesn't have to be religion. It's magic. I want to know behind what's happened. Why does this happen? Again, science. Why is A causing B? What's the reason for things? So it's just finding what's behind the front. Weird.
It's amazing all the different levels, and I'm sure, like I say, it's something you could debate for a long, long time. Out of curiosity, who's your favorite magician?
Magician. Oh gosh. Well, the thing is, when I find out how they do them, they're not as amazing anymore. So I mean, David Blaine, is him, the guy that would stand in a block of ice for whatever 30 days or something. I know how a lot of his tricks are done, but those sort of things, to the feat of the human endeavor of doing what he did, that's a lot of mind control to be able to do that, and physical, healthy body to stand in a block of ice for so long. So he would be one, I suppose. But there's, Houdini, of course, going way back, he made a lot of tricks. He was the inventor of a lot of tricks about escapology. So he would be a hero because he was one of the first. Everyone else has copied from what he's done. And I like the fact that he exposed, there's people who talk to the dead, what you call them, clairvoyance. Mm-hmm. He exposed clairvoyance back 150 years ago. He saw all their techniques and how they did it, and he exposed them for charlatans. But apart from that, he had great tricks. So no, I've no hero in magic. As I said, when you find out how it's done, you do admire how they've constructed the trick, but the trick itself, a lot of times, is simple. But I admire the creativity of putting it all together, from nothing. It's fascinating that is just as interesting as the magic trick itself. It's how they deceive us. Interesting.
I'll probably take it all back then. I think it sounds like you're much more logical brained. It's understanding how it's working, the background to it, the history, the practicalities of it.
Yeah, again, magic is you logically think of a trick and how it can deceive people, because it is deceiving. Magic is a deception. It's what's the word for it? Where you distract someone from something. But so there's the technical end of it, and then they create the whole atmosphere behind it and make it entertaining for the public. So there is a bit of technical and creativity in magic. So it's magic is people are still fascinated. You look at the X Factor, not the X Factor, the Britain's Got Talent. You see the magicians on that, and you can look at the audience reaction to the magic. And I know how they're done, but it amazes people. I like what they can do to an audience. The wow factor.
It's a bit like a band as well. I mean, a band puts across, music and a show and an image that actually pleases the crowd. It's a similar thing.
That's as a musician. That's you like going out there and changing people's mood. I suppose at the beginning of the night, people are sitting down and just chatting, and then at the end of the night, now drink does help. At the end of the night, they're up dancing and singing and looking for more. I know a lot of gigs I've done. You wouldn't hear them applause for the whole 2 hours, and then for the last 5 minutes, when you say, "Okay, this is the last song," when that's the last song is finished, encore, encore, encore. They don't want you to stop it, but for the 2 hours before that, it's just a little reaction. But yeah, you're as a musician, you're there to evoke a reaction, to make them have a happy experience, I suppose. That and I suppose nostalgia. If you're playing old songs, is a bit of nostalgia. So you're changing their mood. That's sort of a musician does. You're entertaining. You're trying to forget their problems. Everyone has their 9 to 5, and on a Saturday night they just want to forget all their problems and get out and listen to music and have a few drinks. And you're there to solve that issue of forgetting the woes and making them feel good for a couple of hours. So yeah, it's an interesting. It is, when you think about it. All we're doing is in people's eardrums. We're changing the frequency on their eardrums for a few hours, and that's it. And that creates mood. It creates the desire to dance, to sing. It's a strange profession, knocking at people's eardrums.
That makes sense. So take us. So you've gone straight into this. You're doing this sort of European tour, and you find yourself back. What was happening then?
Yes. So before I left, I was in the AA, and before I left, I always have something in the back of my mind to do. It's not just, I didn't just jump at the European tour and then that's it. I was, the last year in the AA, I was doing motor quotes for people. And one of the guys I did a quote for, he had a couple of businesses. One was 3D photography. So when you look at a photograph and you turn your head, you can actually see the side of the person. Now it's a little more common, but that time was totally new. He had that, and I said, I'd love to know a bit more about that, because I was into photography, by the way. That's another thing when I was in my teens. So he said, come down to me and I'll show you. So he showed me the whole thing. And he said, I'm actually looking for someone to promote this. Now, I did marketing, by the way, 4 years of marketing just during that time. So I have a higher diploma in marketing, so because it's business related. And I said, well, I'll keep that in mind. And also, he had this mattress that you could adjust the pressure of the mattress to suit yourself. So it was a mattress for everybody. So he had a couple of business ideas. And I said to him, listen, I'm interested in those. Maybe I'll work with you sometime. And he said, yeah, whenever you're free. So the opportunity of the European tour came up in December. And that was in the background, that I had a business opportunity to go with this guy. So I said, right, I'll leave the job, which I hated. I hated doing motor quotes because you're like a robot. The whole day, you'd be on the phone, you'd say, hello, AA auto quote. You do a quote, put down the phone, pick up the phone, hey, auto quote, and you go through the same thing every time. So you're just a robot, and I just hated it. So I was doing that for a year, had enough of that. So December, yeah, I decided I had enough of that, and I knew the European tour, if it didn't work out, that I was going to join up with this guy to work with him promoting the 3D photography and the other things that he had. So that's what happened. So I did the tour for a couple of months, came back early because the Italian part was cancelled, and I started then working with him on a few of the businesses, and ended up setting up my own furniture business, because one of his products was the mattress that had an adjustable pressure on it. And somebody asked me, they knew I was doing this. Somebody said, oh, can you get me a mattress? So I said, okay, I'll get you a mattress. So I got one mattress. And then the guy that was making the mattresses said, oh, look, this guy up in the north, in the north of Ireland, selling these mattresses, and he's making a fortune selling them from home. So I said, okay, if he's making, I'll give it a go down south. So I started selling mattresses and buy and sell. I had a newspaper ad every week. So I was my where I'm recording this is my living room. I had this full of mattresses at one stage. I was just buying mattresses and beds and selling them and buy and sell, and doing very nicely, doing very well at the time. I was earning a lot of money for a couple of years, but it just got too much in the house. So I ended up opening up a warehouse with a shop. Then after a couple of years, and got bigger and bigger with that. So yeah, I don't do things totally crazy. I always have something in the background in case it doesn't work out. Plan Bs, you know, you have to have your plan B. That was my plan B. Yeah, I did
What
that for
age?
10 years.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
I'm curious. I mean, you were saying your father passed away when you were 23. I mean, how
yeah.
did that come into play, and did it sort of have an effect on you?
No, not a major effect. Um, Not really. Not like I wasn't close to him, so it didn't have a huge effect, which is strange. I know. I remember when he died, my older brother was crying, and I didn't cry at all. I not. I did at the funeral, but not when he died for the day or two after that. It didn't affect me at all, and I was surprised at myself. I just kept my calm and kept my cool. So it didn't affect me. No, it affected obviously my mother, and she had a breakdown a few months later. Uh, I did feel a little more responsible. Like up till then, my father was obviously the father of the house, and I was just a son in the house. But when he died, there was no father figure. So my brother wasn't really a father figure. So I did a bit more in the house, more in the family, a little bit. But otherwise, it didn't affect me emotionally or any way. So no, so I know it should have, but it didn't.
I was just curious. I mean, it's different people in different times and the whatnots.
Yeah,
But just so you know, you're in the furniture shop. Then what was it just beds or was it all furniture?
bedroom furniture. So started off with beds, and then when I set up my own place, I put in lockers and headboards and anything to do with the bedroom. And after a couple of years, then I was offered a big store, 2007, a big store near a big shopping center near me. And I looked at it logically and I said, no, it's too big a risk. I won't go in. But then 2 weeks later, the landlord came back and he offered me something I couldn't refuse. He was giving me 250,000 to fit out the place. He was giving me. He said, "Listen, I'll give you $250,000, and you can use that money to fit out the place." I thought, "Wow, okay." So I couldn't. I said, "Okay," even though I have my reservations about doing it because we all have a dream of having a business where it runs itself and you have people there to run it and you can leave it when you want and it's still going. That's all our dream. We all want that. And I thought to myself, good, if I get this big place, I'll be stuck in this and I won't be able to, I won't have time freedom. But when he offered me this, I thought, okay, there's enough money there to start and maybe I'll get a manager in to run it so that I'm not there all the time looking after it. So I went for with me and my girlfriend at the time. We opened the big store, and this was 2007, which is the perfect time to start up a business. Absolutely, everything was booming down here, and we were flying. In the first year, we did close to €1 million in sales. So things were going pretty good. But then in the summer of 2008, things started to get a little quiet. People thought, well, maybe a month or two it's going to get quiet and it'll pick up. But it kept getting quieter and quieter. And revenue wasn't coming in. And sales were down. Suppliers were looking for their money, but I wasn't getting the sales in. My rent was high. It wasn't high when I started because we were getting a lot of money in. But when sales were low, all these bills were the same. And I was under a lot of pressure then towards the end of 2008, where I lost staff as well for various reasons, and I was doing everything. I was selling on the floor, shop floor. I was doing the warehouse. I was delivering the furniture. I was doing all the marketing and managing it as well. So a lot of pressure on me because the suppliers were looking for their money. Customers were looking for their goods. They couldn't get the goods because suppliers weren't supplying, and I couldn't get the staff. So it was horrible last couple of months. So then the bank pulled the overdraft. I had 26,000 overdraft. They pulled the overdraft, and that was it. I had nothing left, so I had to just close the door. And I let people down. Obviously, some of the suppliers. One guy I got on really well, but he kept on giving me beds on credit, and it went up and up and up. And he was hit the most from me. I think I owed him 30,000, which isn't a huge amount, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things. But I just felt bad because he was the guy I got on the best, but he was hit the worst because he was happy to lend me the credit, give me the credit over the time, you know. But thankfully, there wasn't many others hit too much, so I didn't cause too much hurt to people. But closed out. So I was relieved when the door was closed, and that was the end of that part of my life, which I never really was interested in, the furniture. I just got into it by accident, and I started making money from it, and so I continued because I was earning money from it. But it was never definitely no fire in the belly with that one. It was it was boring actually. I don't know why. I just did it because I was earning from it. You know, bedroom furniture. There's nothing interesting about it whatsoever. It was just a means to an end. I was hoping that I would get a manager into the store. I was looking at opening a second store in early 2008, but I didn't go for it just because sales were starting to go down a little bit. I didn't take the chance of a second shop just in case, and I'm glad I did. But no, there's no fire in the belly with that one. So I didn't mind that it was all over after 10 years doing furniture. Do you know what I liked about it? I liked doing the advertising. I liked the marketing. I used to do the radio ads. I did them myself, you know, and the jingles and all that. Like people were in the radio station. I loved the ads that I was doing. That's the era. I like the marketing. I like the creativity again, but the business of delivering someone's bed, I have no interest whatsoever in that end of things. So, you know, I did well. It just happened. I opened the big store at the wrong time, you know, 2007, 2008. It just was unfortunate the wrong time to open a big business. So, yeah, the landlord wasn't too happy when I closed the door.
But I mean, you obviously proved that the model could work because obviously you had a year run on it before.
Oh, and before that, for 10 years, you know, I was making money for 10 years doing the furniture. So yes, I knew I could do it. But you know what? I didn't like being a manager of staff. I didn't like that. I didn't like. I had two drivers that were drunk driving while they were working for me. Two different drivers. I just couldn't believe it. You know, one guy came. It was just in December, just before we closed, and he came in and he fell out of the van, and he was twisted, literally all around, and I just couldn't believe it. And we had a complaint a few days before that your driver was driving erratically, and I just couldn't believe it. No, that's not my driver. And I found out he was drinking, so he was sacked. And then 2 years later, another driver. I had a customer ring me and says, "Your driver's here cursing at my child. He's fallen asleep in the van. I want him out of here quickly. He's outside my house, causing havoc." He's another drunk driver. I don't know how I was unfortunate with that. And then some staff wouldn't turn in the morning, text me with some excuse. Just you couldn't depend on them. I got in a manager who, the whole idea was that she would look after the store and I would take a back seat and look more into the marketing and the advertising again. But she was useless. She, if there's any little issue, she would tell me, "Oh, you know, this guy in the shop, the warehouse guy, he doesn't like this or that. What'll I do?" I said, "You're the manager. You know, I'm paying you a lot of money to manage. That's your job." she was useless. But she went off on maternity leave only after a few months anyway, so there wasn't no loss there. So I didn't like managing people. I didn't like having to sack people. No, I'm not into people management. So that's why I like what I'm doing now. It's I've no staff. I've independent people doing their own thing. If they want to keep doing it, fine. But if not, there's no problem. I hope not to have to work to be the boss of people again.
Out of interest, did you have to go through the full bankruptcy thing, or did you manage to get through that okay?
Liquidation. It was a limited company, so we just liquidated, and that was the end of that. Now, the bank, because I signed personal signature on the loans, the banks, chased me for those, but they haven't. It's a long time since they came back to me now. Like I haven't. There was one big loan which I haven't paid off. They put a lien on my house, so it's there. So maybe down the line they're going to come back for that. But some of the other smaller loans, they're gone. They're written off. But yeah, limited company had some benefits. I mean, if I wasn't limited, the landlord would have come after me big time. Even though I didn't feel stressed about it because I had nothing to give him. He couldn't have taken anything from me. So I lost my car, I lost the van, and the house was, up in the air that the bank could have taken it. But so he couldn't have taken anything from me. So I didn't feel any pressure with that. But yeah, the limited company, has some benefits in that way. So I didn't go for bankruptcy. No.
It must have been around that time as well. Then your sister died. Is that right? Have I got my math right?
Just before the big crash, 2008, she died. Yeah, she was only 43. She was just a year older than me. Multiple sclerosis, and when you look at her life, when she was 21, she found out she had multiple sclerosis, and it was just a slow downward slope from then till she was 43 and died. She went from walking with one stick to walking with crutches to walking with a frame to wheelchair and confined to bed a lot. So it was just a horrible, slow, gradual, problem, health problems. So in the end, she died of MRSA, the virus in the hospital. Really, that's what killed her. Of course, the hospital records don't say that. They just say she died of her multiple sclerosis and kidney infection or something, but it was the MRSA that killed her in the end. So, when I look back at her life, it's just, I think she was happy because she had her husband, her boyfriend, and then her husband. I think they were happy together, but no life that she couldn't do anything really with her life. She wasn't able to achieve anything much, but I think she was happy, and that's something anyway. Happy with him. He died about 2 years later. He was heartbroken, and every day we visited him. Anytime we visited him, he'd always say, "Oh, your sister, Deirdre's her name. I wish I was with her now." And he kept saying this, and I said, "Stop saying this, because you have to live your life now. She's gone. You have to look after yourself now." And he went down and down, and he died 2 years later. Yeah. So sad life to have to die at 43, and half at that time you got a disease. So yeah, she's just unfortunate. It's one of those diseases you don't know who gets it. It's not hereditary as far as I know. It's just she was just unlucky to be one that got it.
It's it was tough times for you as well. I mean, a lot going on there between the business and your sister.
Yeah, well, business was going great up till then. That was no worries. But it happened, and then the business went bad. So yeah, it wasn't a great year. That the following 12 months with her dying so young. So it wasn't wasn't easy for any of us, you know. But yeah, you know, you don't dwell on it too much. You have to get on with life, and yeah, what can you do? You can't dwell on bad things. So when I closed the door, I'd say of the shop, it was a metaphorical closing the door as well. That was history, finished. Get on with it. The only time I think about it is when people, you know, in an interview or something would ask me about it. It wouldn't cross my mind, you know, for a year or two. It's something that's history. I always think of the present and the future, not too much in the past. You know, no regrets. Je ne regrette rien.
Oh, I love it. So tell me, what did you do then as you know, things proceeded onwards?
So that happened in 2009. And just in my mind, I thought, right, there's a big recession on here. There's no jobs. I've no money, so there's no way I can start a business, and there's no business at the moment. So for the first few years, I didn't do a lot, except I found after about a year, a friend of mine told me about this special coffee that has this mushroom in it, and it just intrigued me to know what it was about. So I was doing nothing at the time, and so went down to Limerick in the southwest of Ireland to see what it was about. And the guy, he was doing actually he was Napoleon Hill. He was a Napoleon Hill trainer. He was certified trainer with Napoleon Hill, the Napoleon Hill Foundation. He was doing a training day about Think and Grow Rich in Limerick, and I went down to see him. And after I missed the training, but it was a private thing anyway. But when I got there, he said, "Stay here. You've come a long way from Dublin." Brought us out for a meal, gave us one of his coffees. And on the way back from that, after he'd telling me the story of his business and all, I just felt great. And I decided to look more into this, and I found out about this special mushroom, a medicinal mushroom, and the coffee and his business. And it just looked very interesting. And like he was a wealthy guy. He was staying in Adare Manor, which is a very expensive place to stay in. So I said, well, obviously he's making a lot of money from this. There must be something in this. So I joined that business, and what I liked about it was you don't have any employees, as I was saying. You have no costs, very little cost setting up the thing, which, you know, I was happy with because I had no money. And it's something you could expand as big as you want, as long as you work hard at it. So, and it was health benefits as well. So a lot of positivity. I decided to join. Well, I decided to order the product first and try it. And I took capsules as well from the mushroom, and I just felt great afterwards. My mind was clear. I had clarity of mind. I could see clearer. I woke up in the morning with a fire in my belly, as you could say. Just jumped out of bed straight. I was full of energy, full of alertness, and I wasn't like that for years. And I thought, wow, there's something in this mushroom. So I said, geez, if I felt this different, I said, it's definitely a business in this for other people. If I can improve people's wellness, I said, there's definitely a business in this. So I set up the business, and I started sampling out the coffee and the supplements and selling the supplements, and started growing that business. And so that's what I get into with the music. I was doing that for a few years. There was nothing else going on. That's what I did from then onward. But I haven't stopped promoting healthy beverages and supplements. But I did change company after 3 years. I was with that company for 3 years, and I could go into reasons why I left it. But I found a better company, let's say more ethical and better range of products, better value products, and more stable. And yeah, I just like the ethos of this other company, and I switched to this company. They do similar products, but just I like it better. So I've been with them for 6 years.
Just out of interest, what sort of mushroom is it? Is there a particular type?
Yeah, it's called reishi, also known as Ganoderma. It was used by the Chinese emperors back 2,000 years ago for the health benefits. It was called the mushroom of immortality. Now, not that it gives you immortality, but it does give extra potency and extra health benefits. And at the time, the emperors, it was hard to get. By the way, it was only grown in certain forests in China. It wasn't very common. So anytime it was found, the emperors said that if anyone found this mushroom, that to bring it to the palace, and if anyone else was consuming it, they were punished. It was only for the emperor. So it was revered back then. And if you go to the Forbidden City, you'll see the reishi mushroom on the walls of the picture on the walls of the Forbidden City. So they knew about it, and the word spread. It's well known in Japan as well, and it's used for a lot of things, for serious illnesses as well as just for general well-being. But what I found is it helps me feel good. I'm not stressed. I'm 10 years on it, and I don't think I've ever been stressed in 10 years. It's given me confidence because I don't worry now. So I feel since I've been taking that, I've done a lot of other things that I wouldn't have done. So it's given me confidence. Don't worry. A little more energy, more alertness, and I feel great. So that's probably what they found back in the Chinese found, and we've lots of testimonials for helping the body cope with serious illnesses. But we're not allowed to go into the details of that. But it definitely improves well-being, and that's what I like about it. So, but the business end of things, I like that it's coffee as well. Our main product is coffee, and coffee is something that people are going to be drinking in 50 years' time. So it's not something that's a fad that's going to go away. And not only some people drink it, about 3 billion people in the world drink coffee. So there's a huge market for coffee, and obviously health is a growing interest, especially now with the virus and all that. People are more concerned about their health. So we have something that's healthier, that is coffee. So I think there's a good, strong future with this business. And I like seeing the improvements it makes in people's well-being. So I like the business end, and it's a residual income, passive income. So I like that end of things, and I like helping people health-wise.
That's great. Well done. I mean, it's a great business to have, and the fact that it works well and allows you also to, sort of play with the band as well. It seems to be the best of both worlds. Yeah,
I gave it to one guitarist in one of the bands, and he said before a gig he gets nervous before he plays, but he said when he took our coffee, his nerves went, and it was no problem with it. So it's it definitely has. It doesn't have an effect on everybody, but it definitely has an effect on a lot of people. So. It's all positive. It's help people while you're building your own business and spreading it worldwide. There's no limits. Like a franchise, you're limited to a particular area. You're limited to what you can do. You've all the procedures you have to follow exactly the way they say, and it costs a fortune to set up a franchise. This is like a mini franchise from home. It costs very little to start. You have a lot of freedom on how you promote it. And you can expand it to 200 countries in the world. Your limit on expansion, there's no limit on expansion. So, no risk and huge potential. So it's a win-win situation.
Brilliant. Love it. So tell us, what would you describe as your core values, Austin?
Yeah, well, as I said before, honesty. I definitely value honesty and respect. Respect. Like I respect everybody, no matter what their status or career, or what they do. I respect everybody, and I like being respected as well. I don't like deception, as I said. I like the truth, and I search for the truth. So they're core values. I don't have my own family, so family values. So, obviously my mother and sister and brother and all that they're important to me, but. Having people there that we can look out for each other, friendship is very important. I haven't really thought about other values apart from those. Um,
Where would you see yourself in the next 10 years, say, for example?
in the next 10 years, I would see myself as one of the top leaders in our business, the health and wellness business. My vision is that I'm traveling the world, speaking at seminars, promoting the products, promoting the business opportunity. Because our company, if you're a leader in the company, they will actually pay you to go to seminars around the world. So I'd like to be one of those speakers, and build a business and have teams in different countries that I'm helping out, and I've built up friendships with lots of people in the business as well. So like I can go to 10 different countries and I know I'll be looked after, and the same, they can come here and I can look after them. So long-term friendships are important. And then on the music end, I hope to have a few hits, a few songs that are taken into the public arena and are liked by a lot of people, and get some respect in the music end of things. Because I think I'm a good songwriter, but nobody knows me really. So I'm hoping that some famous people will take on some of the songs and get the songs out there. So I don't consider myself a great singer. So I've no desire or vision of myself performing in stadiums or anything like that. That's not my dream. I wouldn't mind being part of the band that's doing it, but I don't want to be the front person. I like being behind the scenes in a way. So yeah, getting the songs out there and making an impact song wise. My other dream is to have a song for the Eurovision. That's been my dream of the last 10 years, to represent Ireland in the Eurovision some year. I've applied for the last 5 years, but it's all done behind doors. They pick their own songs, and it's not a fair system. But anyway, that's the way it is. So that's it. Yeah, the goal is music and the health and wellness. They're the two I like doing. There's no stress, no pressure. So it's something I like doing, and I can earn from it as well. And making an impact. We all want to make an impact. So I want to make an impact. My goal is to have hundreds of people that are doing well with our business and with our products around the world. And I'm one of the people that influenced them and mentored them to be successful in the business. So I'd like to have a legacy of having a lot of successful people out there, partly because of my help.
Oh, I love it. Fair play to you. So tell me, just really sort of a few last things. I mean, what is your fire in the belly then?
Well, I touched on it there as well, is to help people succeed. I think that's to, as I said, to make an impact on other people's lives, a positive impact on other people's lives. That is what I want to do. That's my passion, is to, it's even not for myself. I don't want to, I'm looking more to make other people successful than for me to be successful. Yeah, because I know anyway, if I do make others successful, then I'll be successful. But my desire is to, like, I have a few people in this business now, and they're doing it a few years, and my hope is that they are very successful, and the fact that I help them a little bit, makes me feel good. So my desire is to make an impact on people's lives. I mean, there's so many people out there that are doing a 9-to-5 job, and there were statistics there that said something like 70% of people either hate their job or just dislike a lot of what they do. They dislike it. So 70% of people hate their job or dislike their job in a lot of ways. They're not living their dream, and it'll be a shame for them to reach their retirement age and have been working 40 years in an area that they hate. It's just horrible. So if I can help some of those people find their passion and their fire in the belly, And I think we have, in the health and wellness business, we have something that can do that, that can give positivity, that can they can use their creativity, they can help people, they can use their business skills, they can travel, make friends. It's a very positive environment. And the great thing about it's the network marketing industry, the great thing about it is everyone's there to help each other. And you're celebrated. If you're successful in our industry, you're celebrated. Whereas if you're promoted in a business, okay, you're actually your employee, your staff might be jealous of you. Your co-workers, they could be jealous of you if you get a promotion. And who else is going to celebrate? Not many. Whereas in ours, if I get to the next leadership level and I go to the next seminar, I'm brought on stage at the seminar and the whole place erupts. You get a huge clap and you get a medal, you get something, a recognition for your achievement. It's just a great environment to be in. And for people to be working 9 to 5 in something they hate, when they could be in something such more positivity and good for the health, and make friends and be there in a great positive friendly environment and earn money from it and achieve something and help others to achieve something. It's more fulfilling than being in a 9 to 5. Now, if you're happy with a 9 to 5, that's absolutely fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But there are people there that don't know that something better out there for them. And my fire in the belly is to let them know that there's an option. They don't have to do this, but to just educate them to say, listen, here's another option for you. You can start part-time while you're working, see how it goes. And if you like it, then do more of it and see how it goes. So it's a choice, plan B, that could be a plan A. And if they don't like it, then they stay with their 9 to 5 and that's it. So my fire in the belly is to educate people to see the other sides, to see the option for them.
Love it. Well, I assume now the racing mushroom is more available, that it's not just emperors now drinking it, or using it.
Well, that's the thing. They only in the 70s they found a way of cultivating it in a bigger way. Started mostly in China and then Japan. The guy that set up this company, his parents are from China, but he's Malaysian himself. And he found a better way of cultivating it that others didn't. And it's a safer way where you don't use insecticides and pesticides. There's nothing harmful in the cultivation. It's organic. And he's now the biggest producer of reishi in the world. So he's gone from zero to being the biggest because he does it in an ethical way. He does it in an environmentally friendly way, organic way. And obviously it works. You know, people are getting health differences with it. So he's provided in a fairly affordable way. And the reason why I put it into coffee and tea is because everyone drinks coffee or tea, nearly everybody. So instead of taking the mushroom or taking the supplements, you can have it within your beverage that you take every day. So you're not changing your habits and you're getting a health benefit from it. So yes, anybody can take this now. It used to be a very expensive mushroom. As I said, it was very revered and only used by the emperors, but now he's made it available for anybody to use. So we're trying to get that out to the world, that people can improve their wellness very easily, starting with just changing their coffee or tea. Simple as that. And if they don't feel the benefits, no problem. But each coffee and tea has hundreds of extra nutrients. So even if they don't feel it, their body's getting extra vitamins and nutrients into them.
That's amazing. Well, listen, that's something to look forward to. So tell me, how can people reach out to you? How can people find out more?
Sure. Well, my tag is AOK Cafe. That's AOK is my initials, Austin O'Keefe, and Cafe because it's coffee. So AOK Cafe at gmail.com is the Gmail address. Also, AOK Cafe is my Twitter handle, and AOK Cafe is also on Facebook. So I like to be known as the coffee man, even though we have 100 products and one of them is coffee. Coffee is the best selling of the products. And it's a nice starter for people to just try the coffee and build it up from then. So I call it the feel-good coffee because it does make people feel good. So that's why I'm called AOK Cafe. And AOK, of course, means, hey, I'm AOK. I'm good. So it's a tie on my initials and feeling good.
I love it. Great there for a bit of marketing as well. So well done.
Yeah.
Austin, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for your time, and appreciate you sharing your story with us. So thank you again. Appreciate it.
Pete, thank you very much for inviting me on to this. It was great talking to you, and good luck with your podcast in the future. And we'll chat soon.
Indeed. Thanks again.
Bye-bye.